We got a pretty good walk-in today. Can't complain about that. Staying in the shade for a bit, let them decompress. I'm gonna head back home. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff going on. I found out that I've been listening to some music early on, kind of inspired with some ideas for some designs in my head. I'm gonna get out there and do it one of these days, guys. I'm deciding, do I want to do a liner lock? Do I want to do a friction folder? I've thought about doing a friction folder using aluminum for the handle and or some G10 for micarta for the handle, because I decided I needed a quick win. So I thought about doing some aluminum for the handle and making just not a quick, but a friction folder more along the lines for practice. But I have been kind of thinking of some ideas in the lockback section of maybe some thicker material lockbacks with a really, really pronounced clip point, kind of like a buck, but slightly goes up a little more with a clip point, and maybe a micarta scale with some nickel silver pins. I want to do one lockback, and I want to do it in a larger thickness than we're used to seeing from lockbacks. There was a knife that was made by, I forget who made the knife. I wish I would have bought one back in the day. I wasn't much of a lockback fan, but this thing was like an over-engineered lockback, and some of the retailer told me it was made for special forces, and I don't know, maybe it was made for boomers that were still in the special forces, because I remember when the article about tactical knives came out and someone still said that buck made the list for tactical knives. A lot of people in the Army were carrying bucks at one time, buck 110s. But this was like an over-engineered 110 with a really slightly, I forgot who made it. But anyway, I kind of want to make something along those lines. Maybe using brass liners or stainless liners along with maybe a thick piece of 440, and just make this thing just real beefy and over-engineered. Not ridiculously huge, still comfortable enough to carry in a pocket or in a Kydex sheath. But just kind of make this thing where it's just a real nice, crisp lock-up with very seamless. I want to try to shoot for that. I might go for something smaller and basic on the lockback end. I got to learn my biggest thing is learning how to spring temper that back spring. But I got some old books on how to do that and fix that out. And I still got my carbides. I still need to put in my carbides into the compound on my my lathe and get on and do my lathe. It's just been so hot. I've been so exhausted from work, and I just been putting it off. But the first good sign of weather that comes out, what do you see? Squirrels in the trees. Squirrels in the trees. You're not going to get them squirrels. You're not going to climb a tree and get that squirrel. No. You're not getting it. Come on. Enough of that. But anyway, that's just what's been going on. You want to go up the hill now? Gives them a reason to go up the hill, though. Gives them a reason to get up there. They'll never make it to that squirrel. Squirrel isn't even scared. They don't ever go up the hill anymore. They got a bunch of like ferns growing over there too, so I wondered if it's going to be hard to get in there. But anyway, I think about doing a lockback. I thought about doing just a quick friction just to get a quick. I need a quick win. I need to make something. I need to do like I did the other day with that fixed blade that I did. I need a quick win. And a lot of times it's just about the wins and getting out there and doing it. I'm not doing this for money. It's just, I don't think there's any real money in this. Not on the custom maker level. I've been told time and time again, I've been told by countless people there's no money in it. People still go to shows. Like some guy in a magazine said that, well, it's like it's what we do. It's what we do. But at the same time, while it's what I do, if somebody wants to buy something, they're going to charge. I'm charging them out the nose for it. I'm not charging reasonable prices. When I make an item, it's out the door and I never see it again. I'm charging a lot of money. People say, "Well, is that gouging? Is that whatever?" I don't give a crap what it is. It's the markets is what it is, and I set the prices the way I want to do them. And if I decide to make it worth my while and sell a knife, all right, look at that, they're going up the hill now. And if I decide to make it worth my while, it's going to be a lot of money to sell one of these knives. I've said it a few times in the past. You know, the whole for a long time, when I was making fixed blades, I just did kind of a launch ugly series of knives, and I think I might have been one of the, if not the cheapest custom made handmade knife on the market. And I think at one time I was probably the cheapest, you know, out of the garage maker there was. I don't think I ever sold a knife for over $100. So it's as someone said one time that I had that they're pretty crude. The knives are crude, and I forgot what I said back to him, and he says, I don't have to be a D about it. Just admit that these are some crude knives, and I'm not going to admit they're crude knives. I'm not going to admit anything. But what I feel is that the customer got enough custom knife for their money. The amount of time spent, for the amount of skill spent, for the amount of finishing. And sure, there's not these creamy colored flats that I spend hours prism rubbing with 1000 grit wet dry. Of course, they're not going to get that because I started adding more steps. I'm going to add more money. But for what they got in return for their money, I thought was a more than fair price. It was a very good value. A person, you know, who's into this scene, who was into handmade knives, what my niche was giving them a handmade knife for a very good price so they could participate in the custom knife world, have a couple handmade knives that are from the custom knife world that wasn't going to bankrupt them. I've seen some pretty expensive fixed blade knives that were just kind of whatever. And what I was doing is I was giving them a custom made knife, all handmade by me, that they could put in their collection and say, I've got a couple custom knives now. I've got a couple handmade knives, and they could start their collection. I enabled people. What I was hoping is I enabled people to start their journey in the custom collecting path for not paying a lot of money, for not paying a bunch of money. Some kid has his paycheck. Maybe it's a bi-weekly paycheck. Maybe all he got is part-time, and he's got $300 in his paycheck. He goes and saves a couple of them up and buys a small fixed blade knife for $400 or something like this. At the time, maybe he could get a higher end production knife, but he wanted a custom knife. I provided that outlet so people could buy something for themselves, and every one of my orders made it to the house. There was no pre-order. I never did pre-order. I'm not a believer in pre-order. I haven't been in debt in years, and to me, when I do a pre-order, it feels like okay, now I owe a bunch of people. Everything I made, I put up on the site and sold. And I didn't do custom orders. I'm not going to sit there and listen to someone's musings on what they want to make and at the end of the day, if I'm taking direct inputs on everything on how to make everything, I'm just more of a contractor than a maker. They're using my services, and they're the artist. They're the artist, not me. And I took a little bit of a staunch path in taking my product and just cramming it into the market. And that's what I did. As I made things that I thought would be good, and I gave people the decision to whether or not they want to buy or sell or buy my stuff. I made things that I thought were going to be worthy of a market for a fair price, and then I set it out there for people to buy or not buy. That's their decision. And everything I made it out to people's houses. There was no pre-orders. There was no stacks of things sitting around. Nothing like that. I never went to a CNC machinist to have blanks made. Everything was made on my Bader BM3 by me. Derived from contact paper patterns drawn on grid paper. And I would stack them up in stacks, and I think some people thought that I was sending them out and having them made. I never had a one made. And some people even doubted that they were made in America. They even doubted. I thought I was having them contracted overseas. And when I began to see the sorts of knives that some people preferred, I had actually gone out into some directories and began to talk to Chinese factories about perhaps making knives that were very low quality, that I designed but were very low quality, particularly pink handled knives that guys could buy their girlfriends and stuff like that. I was thinking I could fill a niche for gift knives that were girly, that guys could buy their girlfriends. I thought it was an untapped niche I could exploit. And in the process, that's when I found out about knives that were $300 and $400 that were just starting to be made. And I thought that's not going to work. No one's going to pay, because the price that they quoted me, I thought, well, that would be like a $400, $300, $400 knife on my end. I don't think they're going to really go for that. And the markets went very, very, very favorably for overseas produced knives that were frame locks and stuff like that. Because they were saying titanium, G10, and D2. And I'm thinking, well, I was thinking more along the lines of some sort of craton material in a 440C or something on the like. And it turns out that they were building these really cool frame locks, and a lot of factories were also making frame locks based off of favorite American designs. And I was saying to myself, well, I don't want to get into that because I don't think that's going to be very popular. And I was surprised it is very popular. People buying knives from overseas are very popular, and a lot of those factories have become very good at doing knives, and some of them are just as good as the quality that we see here from the custom world. It's really quite amazing. But I was wrong. I didn't think that it would take off that well. But I was just trying to say, though, nobody wants to buy a handmade knife for under $100 from me, so I should just go faceless, become some sort of company with a small fulfillment center in my hometown, just have it brought in from China and hire a couple jailbirds to fill orders and send them out to the four corners of the world, to all the liquor stores. So, yeah, that was my plan. But I was surprised that things have really took a pretty interesting turn. Things aren't always going to turn out the way I expected. But I'm not doing this for money now. This is just, if I'm going to put that much hustle into something, I'm pretty sure there's easier industries to cut it in. Just saying, I think I can come up with something better, that's a better volume, that has And if I took a lot of returns or something on, I wouldn't, you know, get nicked too bad. So anyway, don't worry about the haters. Just let the haters worry about you. See you on the next one.